All right, so have you ever picked this thing up and you're trying to figure out, well, I got this open up to a tune. What do I do? How do I actually read these lead sheets and make them into something that sounds like an arrangement? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this new series. This is what I'm calling Relaxed Jazz Piano. So let's dig into it. All right, so rather than going into a bunch of tutorial and this is how you do it, I'm just going to give you kind of like a broad overview here in this series. We're just going to have a little bit of fun with music. All right, so you got Someday My Prince Will Come loaded up here, right? It's a great jazz standard in 3/4 time, key of B flat. You're looking at it and you think, okay, I'm brand new to playing jazz. What do I do? Well, the first thing I usually recommend students to do is just try playing the root of each of the chords along with your melody, right? Pretty simple. All right, so pretty simple, right? Most people are going to know how to do that. And a lot of students might want to skip over that, and that's absolutely fine. But I always suggest try doing that first just to make sure that you could do it just roots along with the melody. Now, before I go on, let me also let you know that this is more for solo piano, but you'll see that even when I was playing with the band track, this still works well with a band also. All right, but typically with group piano, a lot of times you'll be playing, more of your rootless voicings in the left hand, and we're not going to get into that in this series. All right, so it's going to be more skewed toward cocktail group piano. So you don't have to be playing along with a band track. All right, so start with the roots. The next thing is doing the chord shells. I've talked about this a bunch. There's a whole bunch of lessons on the site. It's a great series called Super Simple Standards on my site if you're interested in going through this. But this is where I go through and I play my chord shells in the left hand. A chord shell is just a 2-note, or sometimes 3, but usually a 2-note chord, usually the root and the 7th of the chord. It may be the 6th of a chord. If it said like a B flat 6 chord, then you would play the 6th rather than the 7th. But here, B flat major 7th, right? So, and I go to my D7, there's my 7th, E flat major, to G7, C minor, back to G7, back to C7, then F7, then D minor, C sharp diminished, C minor, back to F7, then it goes to D minor. All right, so chord shells, root 7 chord shells, perfectly fine. Again, if you need help with that, I got a blueprint on the site on playing jazz piano. It goes through all your chord shells. So root 7 is cool, but I don't know if you've noticed, but notice how I'm moving around the keyboard a lot in my left hand. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to be very specific with our motion on the piano so that we're not doing a lot of bouncing around. So what we do is we alternate between a root 7 chord shell and a root 3 chord shell. Now typically what I would suggest to a student is go through and play just root 3 chord shells on all the chords so you know what the root 3 is, right? But I'm going to skip right into alternating between root 7s and root 3s, assuming that you already know how to play root 3. All right, so now I got my root 7 chord shell. When I go to D7, yes, I can lift up to here and go to root 7 for my D7, or I can make a little bit of an easier motion by going to root 3, and then root 3, and then here, go to root 7. Let's take a look at the E flat to the G7. So these two chords right here, the E flat to G7, all right? And then notice if I'm going from, I could come up to root 7, right, up there, but that's not going to make sense, going up there, right? See all that motion way up there? Or what about root 3? Yeah, I could keep doing root 3, but again, like I said, it's nice to alternate, so notice how close the thumb is to the 7th of G. And I can just easily move my hand right down there, and then I can get right to my C minor 7 as a root 3 right there. So the alternation between the root 7s and the root 3 creates a real nice smooth sound. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to put the iReal Pro track back on here. I'm going to put on 100 beats per minute, and let's just go ahead and play that alternating between root 7 and root 3 and see what that sounds like. And there's no one right or wrong way necessarily of doing this. I could go root 7 and then come up to root 7 and then do root 7 and then root 3. I could go root 7 up to root 3, up to root 3, and then down to root 7. So you kind of play around with what feels good in your hands, but then you also use a little bit of logic, right? You're kind of taking a look at it. Well, does it make sense to kind of lift up and move there? Or, oh, it's a little bit easy. See how I can kind of come in here with my thumb and second finger? I got thumb and pinky, and I can come right into that thumb and second finger, but I can easily then move down to that G7. All right, so now we got our roots, we got our root 7s, our root 3s, okay? Now, right there, you could call it a day and just do that, and you can hear, even playing along with the track, it sounds pretty good. Now, listen what happens once you start to speed this up. I'm going to put it on 140 now, and now let's take a listen to this. You can hear it sounds pretty darn nice. So if you could play the melody strongly, you could play the chords strongly, right there you got a good foundation to work off of. This, unfortunately, is where most students go wrong, meaning that they never get that foundation down. They're trying to always, they go from one YouTube video to a next looking for like these big chords, but they never know how to effectively be able to grab those chords quickly in the moment under their fingertips. Sound familiar? It's ever happened to you? I know it's happened to me, like trying to do stuff that's outside of your reach. So make sure that you get down these shells before you try moving on. Otherwise, you're probably going to frustrate yourself. So then once you get the shells down, this is the secret sauce. Now you start to add the third of the chord or other chord tones, but we're going to start with the third underneath. So now I have root 7 for B flat major. I have my melody. Well, now look at what happens if I put the third underneath here. Now I get this real nice sound. Now you might say, well, what do I do when I come up here to D7? I got root and 3 down here, root 3. Well, what do I add in the right hand? Well, you don't add the third because you already have the third, right? No sense in doubling that. Instead, add the 7th of the chord. So now I have B flat major to the D7. Same thing on E flat. Add the 7th. And then add the third right here in the G7. Now you hear what happens and what's going on. The reason that this sounds good is that a lot of times we might start with just plain old block chords, right? A little low there, but basically what we're doing is we're spreading those chords out rather than playing them all down here along with the melody. We're saying, okay, look, I don't need those 2 notes in the middle. Instead, let's move them up. And what do we notice immediately, right? You notice how this chord tone is already being represented in the melody. So then when I bring that third up here, see how I spread that chord out? Okay? And it starts to sound a lot better than that. It's very subtle, but it kind of adds up. Down here, it starts to sound a little bit muddy. It starts to sound a little bit bottom heavy, all right? So here I got root 7 with the third, root 3 with the 7th, root 3 with the 7th, root 3 with the 7th, and then I could do the same thing there, or I could come up and do that, root 7 with the third, and then there's root 7 with the third for D minor. The C sharp diminished, check this out. I could do this. Let's do this one. Yeah, I could get away with that, or I could, it doesn't sound all that great. So this note is way up here. I could double the melody if I wanted to, or I could put the 5th in there, maybe even add the 5th and the 7th. Maybe even add the C sharp in there, kind of spread it out a little bit, okay? So I could kind of play around with that. I can move around those chord tones. I don't have to keep playing the exact same pattern every single time. Or I could just do, see what I just did there? Check that out. So I played just a C sharp shell here, and then I went down to C minor, root 7, kind of stretching it. And I can fill in some notes, right? Now, the next phase after that is now we could start to add in some chord tensions, like maybe add in the 9th. Now we start to get a really full sounding chord here. I could add in my 9, or maybe what I do is maybe instead I decide maybe add in that sharp 11 in there. That's kind of cool. And maybe I'll just stay with the 9th. And then here, E flat major, root 3, 7, 9, and then that ends up being sharp 11 on that E flat major. See, I crushed the 9th down there with my thumb. Here on the C minor, man, you hear that? That's a gorgeous sound right in there. On the C minor chord, add in that 9th in there. Now here on the D minor, what I'm doing on the D minor, rather than adding in the 9th, I added in the 11th. Now, I can also, if I want to fill out those chords even more, I can start to double some of those chord tones. So I can double that C there, the 7th on the D minor. Maybe I come up here and I play like a full C sharp diminished chord. This is kind of nice in here. For C minor, add the 5th, the 7th, the 3rd. On the F7 now, add in that 9th. Here on the G7, what do? Root 7, 3rd, melody. I added in sharp 11. And then flat 13 as well, give a nice alteration on that G7 chord. And of course, if you don't understand those alterations, again, back at the Academy, we go through all of that in a very step-by-step process. But hopefully, what you're seeing here is this stacking and layered approach. By stacking your knowledge and getting good at each layer and kind of mastering each layer, now you can build upon that layer in a logical fashion. Now I said master in air quotes there specifically because too often students think, oh, before I can move on, it has to be absolutely perfect. Well, first of all, chasing perfection as a human being can be a very frustrating thing, right? And you'll hear professional jazz pianists like you pick them, like your Chick Coreas, your Herbie Hancocks, your Keith Jarretts, your Brad Mellos. You'll hear even in their recordings that they make mistakes as well. So when you're trying to master or trying to get better or even learn jazz piano, you have to let go of some of those mistakes. It's okay to make those mistakes. What you want to make sure that you're doing though is that you're really getting down each layer. So again, going back to the beginning, making sure, can you play it just the root along with the melody? Can you do just the chord shells along with the melody? Can you change the chord shell from a root 7 to a root 3? Can you add that 3rd underneath in the right hand? Can you start to now add in the 9th and chord tensions and stuff like that? Then you can start to do stuff as well as Now, what I'm doing there is a multitude of different techniques. I'm using some melodic embellishment. I'm starting to hit kind of a root stomp and come up and play the rest of the chords. So I get a little bit lower notes there to kind of fill in since I'm playing solo piano right now. I'm also noticing starting to change and alter some of those chord voices so they're a little bit bigger, maybe utilizing tenths, and then also bringing in some other chord tones and tensions. But I'm also starting to now break this up as well. See how I can start to create motion even with those shells, right? So rather than playing them all at once, right? Now I can, see how I hit those inner notes? So what you want to work on is each one of those levels. Now you can get it right out of this video. If you want more help with that, like I said, the Super Simple Standards course at Jazzedge Academy is great. Another one that I have for my Premier members is the Cocktail Piano Intensive, which is a 6-week set of lessons. All lessons are recorded. You go through at your own pace. And that Cocktail Piano Intensive is fantastic if you want to start to understand the inner workings of what it is that I'm doing here. So anyway, be sure to take a look for my next Relaxed Jazz Piano video. And do me a favor, leave your comments below. Have you tried this approach? What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? What are your stumbling blocks? Because I do read those comments, and that will affect what I do in future videos. So I hope to hear from you, and I'll see you in the next lesson.